Streaming. We are live, Mr. Scott.
Good morning.
I'm not going to do music this morning.
Yeah. What's that?
I'm not going to do music this morning.
Yeah. I just need to get the music rolling. Where's your keyless keyboard?
Don't have it with the new software.
Oh, wow.
So we're live.
We're live. Hey, well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to The Grounds with Giles and Jones. I'm Giles, and he's actually Stuart. You don't see him right now because Kent is not here today. Have a little bit of change going on this morning. Got life getting in the way, so to speak. So one of those things that we have to deal with on a daily basis, figuring out what we're going to do and how it's going and how we adapt to it.
When life throws you a curveball, be a curveball hitter.
I guess, yeah. Especially, hopefully you know how to play some type of baseball so you can swing at it.
Oh, that's a thought. Should I have taken some lessons first?
I'm not sure. When you're growing up, hopefully you had some type of lessons.
I did, but not for baseball.
Not for baseball, just other things.
Football and track.
Football and
athletically,
track.
a little basketball, but I was never good at baseball.
Well, welcome everybody. Friday morning here on the grounds. I want to welcome you all into this, and one of the most unique shows on the internet right now, where you can actually if you want to join us live on Facebook at 216 The Net at The Grounds.
The Grounds?
Yeah. Come in, check us, talk with us back and forth. And what we want to talk about today really is just growth and change. And like the word of the year really is the one that I've been kind of going back and forth with lately. What's your word of the year?
For me, it's growth.
Yeah.
Not this way, but just personal growth. Learning what retirement means from athletic coaching. I've been coaching for over 45 years, so there was always a sports season that everything else rotated around, and now trying to figure out how to get to the next level of my life without worrying about how many athletes are going to come out for the program, how many games are we going to get, who's got COVID, who's eligible to play, all those things. And and now I have to rewire.
That's a lot to think about in one sentence.
It is.
Yeah, that if that'll make you change. I don't know if that'll make you grow.
Well, it's in growth. What is growth? Personal growth. We talk about financial growth. What is growth? It's being a little bit better tomorrow than you were today.
Yeah. So I guess we could probably explain that a little bit better. Growth being, making yourself a better person, changing, adapting, overcoming, making yourself a better person than you were yesterday. That's not always easy. That's one of those things that is a daily struggle, as some people, will say it, or it's a daily grind to actually look into things and figure out what you need to do and where you want to go and how you're going to get there.
Amen. Hey, Gary's on from Singapore. Bill Hassey's checking in early. Let me get the link up there for them.
All right. Yeah, we're going to publish a link for you guys. If you want, go ahead and click on that so you can join in with us and interact and ask us questions, question us, or question everything, or call me out on some of the things that we're talking about, because that's what we're here. We always want to hear your guys' thoughts. We want to hear what you're thinking, why you're thinking it, and maybe changing how we think based on what you tell us, or at least make us reevaluate what's working for us or what's not working for us and why it's not working for us, because growth is a constant change, or a constant battle, if you will, to make yourself a better person every day, regardless of how small it may or may not be. It's an important thing in life to just realize that life does change every day, and being able to adapt to that and figure out how that works for you and how you can help yourself, and for me, how I can help others to have a better day and hopefully create a better life for themselves. I know that's one thing that I talk about quite a bit with, both Deke and, all people in my circle, is trying to help out people and to figure out where they're going, why they're going there, and how to get there. Because that's something I don't think that we were taught as kids. Generally in school, we were taught how to learn, or we were taught basic subjects, but we weren't taught, that you're the person that you're guiding your own ship, so to speak. You have to change your course, redirect your course on a daily basis, to make sure you're going to hit the destination that you're looking for. Even though life is not a destination, it's a journey, but to keep that journey going forward and going in the direction that you want to go, even though that may change. Having an idea or a goal of where you want to go is really important, and that's part of growth, is looking inside yourself and trying to figure out who you are, who you want to be, and how you want to get there. And most people don't know where they're going to go, and that's why we have people out there to help us. I call them mentors. Some people call them therapists. I call it, or friends, whichever way you do that. Some people read books, other people go to see people and talk to them. um, Something I think we all struggle with, but most people don't actually talk about. And I encourage people to actually get out there and talk to people about these things that, for the lack of a better term, that go deeper, to actually have a conversation with people about the things that, you may be concerned about or wanting to change, or how to grow, because people are out there hopefully to help you. That's what you, as Coach Papa, I know that's one of the things that you've dedicated a good portion of your life to, is growth through, and you do that through sports, teaching kids how to play. And
sports, business, life. I helping people grow is not limited to what tasks they do. It's really getting them to define, who am I, what am I, where am I, and where do I want to go. We've talked about this on a couple other shows. When you are ready to grow, I or another mentor, the people you're talking about, can help you. But until you're ready, until you recognize that you've got some faults and you need to overcome them, it's never going to happen. The alcoholic doesn't know he's an alcoholic till he hits rock bottom. The jerk doesn't know he's a jerk until he has no friends. And it's once you recognize, then I can come in and do my job. But until you're ready, I pulled my hair out early when I started coaching, because I'd market myself. I can help you, and people would come and they'd be, help me, and I'm like, okay, you need to do this, this, and this. Well, I don't want to do this, this, and this. What do you mean? You said you want to grow. Well, they're not ready.
Or they're afraid.
They're afraid.
A lot of people are afraid of change, and that's what growth is change. You have to change on a not necessarily a daily basis, but you have to change. If you have an idea of who you are, who you want to be and where you want to go, it's really important to make sure that you're following suggestions, if you will, from other people such as yourself. And if you can relate it really into sports, if you're trying to teach a kid how to dribble and make good passes, there's a certain formula, if you will, to how to make that happen. And then practice is a huge thing, and that's, you can't grow without practice. And every day basically is practice for people, getting out there and practice what they want to do, or practice where they want to get to, or at least practicing the habits, because growth is achieved through changing habits.
You're going to have to read that for me.
Oh, my dad says change is defined as the act of becoming different, or of causing someone or something to become different. The act of replacing one thing with another. Exactly. Change is something that, if you have a habit that you don't like, you want to change that, because it's not fulfilling you, or it's not helping you to get to the point that you want to be in life. It's important to do that. It's important to look at the ways to achieve that change or that growth. Most people are kind of stuck in the things that they're doing. They, they don't.
We get stuck in patterns.
Exactly.
You think of a holding pattern when an airplane is coming into land, and they have this pattern, and we get stuck in those. We wake up, we do the same thing every morning. We go to work, we do basically the same thing at work every day. We come home, and we just get stuck in these patterns. And until we can break out of the pattern, being in the infantry for so many years, and being in athletic locker rooms across the country, from little school, middle school, to all the way up to professional, language becomes a pattern. People people swear constantly when they're in these environments. And I'm like, why do you use those words?
They don't know any different.
They have no
right?
meaning to them. The F this and F that and drop this bomb.
Oh, you've listened to me before.
Oh,
then,
I
huh?
have, Scott. But it's when those words have no meaning. They might add a little bit of influence or whatever word you're looking for onto your emotion at the time.
Mhm.
But as I teach my athletes, it's a sign of weakness. All right. If that's going on in the field, the opposing team knows where to attack because you're mentally out of the game right now. And those patterns of language, those patterns of actions, once we can identify them, we can break them. A lot of times we don't know the patterns we're stuck in.
Mm-hmm.
Did you drive the same route here that you drive here every morning?
Yeah, it's the fastest way.
It's the fastest way. Is it the most scenic way? Is it?
Yeah, actually it is, because I get to go over the river and
through the woods to
216 the net here.
There we go.
So the comment or the word that you used is pattern. I actually changed that somewhat. It's to more of a routine.
Yeah.
I think, and it's one that I'm very guilty of because of my nature of what I do for a living, being an entrepreneur and all. I don't have a set schedule.
Yeah.
I don't have I don't have to be at work at a certain time. I don't have to do certain things by a certain time. And I use the word have to. I should, though, to a certain extent. And that's where you get into actual routine. Routine is, our bodies thrive on routine. Us as, the human animal need routines every day. And when you get in those routines, it can help you to become a better individual because you know what you're supposed to do, when you're supposed to do it, how you're supposed to do it.
Keep those thoughts. I'll
right.
be right back.
But then what the thing is when you have your routine, there are times that you get into maybe a rut or, as you use the word pattern. And Deke and I, or Kent, my co-host who is not here today, is out helping his daughter. God love him for that. Is getting into, pattern interrupt. When you want to change or you want to grow, you need to look at things and figure out how you need to change what you're doing and why you want to change it. You have to have a reason behind what you're doing, not just because. If you just have I just want to do it because, it'll never happen. You kind of used the word growth as far as, and you grabbed your belly and kind of, pulled around that, you don't want to grow this way. But knowing what you want to do and, what type of growth you want, you have to have some type of idea how you want to get there. You can't just, get into a pattern or a routine that's actually going to not facilitate your growth. And that's hard because what jumps into everyone's minds is fear, because growth also comes with change has to happen in order to grow. And so many people are afraid or fearful of change because it's not what they're used to, or it's not part of their routine. So it's really going to interrupt what's comfortable to them. And a lot of people don't like to step out of their comfort zone because now they're doing something that their body is just not recognizing.
But change is the only constant that we have. I mean, life is constantly changing. When you look at March of 2020 and you had a certain pattern, a certain way of doing things, and you thought, well, I'm always going to do things this way. And then the pandemic comes along and we're like, oh, wow, we need to change, right?
Yeah.
Change was forced upon us.
We had no choice in that one.
Right. But we can choose if we will make a decision to, I like what Lori says here. Lori Parrish, good morning.
Yeah,
she
good
says,
morning, Lori.
Get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Right. And that's really all change is, because we get into these patterns of life, and we don't have to think. We don't have to get up and
Well, that's part of the routine thing, right? The routine thing is one of the keys really to success, is having that routine. So you have a certain set of things that you do every day mindlessly. You don't even think about it. Your subconscious automatically does that for you. And trying to change your subconscious is a really hard task.
Actually, it's not.
You
if
say.
I say, I think I'm on here.
I don't know. I don't know if you guys can hear Coach Pop or not.
Yeah.
He's over there trying to play with the computer a little bit. We're at a deficit without Deke today. We're on our learning curve, and
Well,
we're uncomfortable with our change today because it's not Giles and Jones, it's Giles and Stewart.
And we have a brand new computer. It's awesome. It's a Mac, and I've never run a Mac before.
Yeah.
And so the simple act of copying and paste, I'm sure it's very simple, but I don't know how to do it.
So that change made you uncomfortable.
It made me very uncomfortable.
But you're going to grow from that change, right?
I certainly hope so. And then I couldn't find my glasses, so I could.
Oh, okay.
but change the subconscious and subconscious programming. Noah St. John has put together a pretty simple process to help people understand how to change your subconscious. And basically, you talk about subconscious programming and how it's difficult to change, but the first thing we need to do is understand what is subconscious program and can we program it? Well, we've been programmed by the outside, but when you look at it, there's 4 steps to it. He calls it unconscious incompetence is the first step, or you don't know. I don't know how to hit a fastball, and I don't care.
But it can be learned.
It can be learned. The second step is you don't know. In other words, you identify something you want to learn, you don't know how to do it, and you begin the process of learning it. You don't know. The third step is conscious competence, or and the final step is unconscious competence. And let me explain using a car. When you're 0 to 10 years old, you don't care about driving a car. A car is just a way to get to grandma's house, to get to school, to get transported.
I disagree there. I wanted to drive a car when I think I probably was born, if you ask my mom.
Well, I did, they'll probably have the little tiny bikes.
Yeah.
But from 10 to 15, you hit that second phase of conscious incompetence. You don't know how to drive a car and you want to learn. Anything with the steering wheel and power, you'll drive it. My grandsons will mow my yard 5 times a week as long as they can ride my riding lawnmower and they can drive it. Then you hit conscious competence. 16, you get your license. You know how to drive, but everything is a conscious thought. It hasn't become a pattern yet or a way of doing things. But after driving for a while, I'm sure this has never happened to you, where you're in a rush, you go someplace, maybe you're Christmas shopping or at the hospital, you park the car, you run in, you take care of what you have to take care of, and then you come out and you're like, where did I park the car?
Oh, that's happened to me many times.
Right.
One time I almost called the cops because I couldn't figure out where the car was at, and it was because I left through the wrong door.
I did that at Spring Hill Mall.
I did it at Galleon Sportings, and that's not around anymore, but out in Woodfield Mall. I went in one door, came out the other, couldn't find my car, and I was actually working for a company back then, and I was freaking out because I couldn't get to it. So that pattern for me, right, was interrupted, and I didn't know what to do. So I panicked.
Our subconscious is programmed. It took us over, and it got us there safely, but our conscious mind couldn't grasp onto it. So there's a simple process. I can teach it to you sometime. Noah St. John, it's part of my coaching practice to help people achieve goals quicker, sooner than they ever thought possible through subconscious programs. So it is possible. But again, it's got to be a choice. You've got to want to do it. You got to identify that you're stuck in a pattern and you want to get out of it. Stuck in a routine and you want to get out of it. But the subconscious is a powerful tool. And we have these default behaviors going on inside our mind, which, all right, I'm learned it and I'm doing all the right things, but then crisis hits. And when crisis hits, we default back to
go back to what you know without having to think about it. And that's why so many people fail at like New Year's resolutions. They start and they want to do something, they want to change, they want to lose weight, they want to exercise more. Right. And they have that crisis that you're talking about, or something in their life that changes or throws them a curveball, right? And boom, they're back to their old ways. They're sitting in front of the TV eating, bonbons in the middle of the evening, before they go to bed. And that's where reprogramming the subconscious really comes in to help us get through that. And if people don't realize that, we have what's called a monkey mind, right? I mean, we really do. And most people don't realize that we all think very similarly, or at least our brains all operate fairly similarly. And until you can figure out how to, reprogram or, send it in a different direction, you're going to continue to do the same stuff over and over and over again and get frustrated as hell because you can't change it. Right.
And this lady who just checked in, if you want some help with that, Lisa.
Yeah, Lisa's changing perceptions. She's on 216. Yeah, Lisa's awesome. Good morning, Lisa. Thanks for joining us in today. We really appreciate it. With talking about the pattern and routine, I read a decent amount of books on, I don't want to call them self-help, but I read a decent amount of books on people that are successful, not necessarily financially, but from a personal standpoint, depending on what you consider success, right? And one of my people that I like to read, and a mentor, if you will, is Darren Hardy. He talks a lot about the slight advantage, or I think it is a slight advantage. But just changing things very small every day, just a little bit every day. You can't expect one day not to be working out and then the next day go for a full-blown hour's worth of workout and expect it to stick. Your body won't do that. Your body, it will reject it. So you need to start slow and make slight changes every day, little differences that will add up to big differences in the long run.
If you can see what that number is.
Yeah, 56,100.
56,100. That's how much weight I moved at the gym the other day. But I didn't move all 56,000 pounds at one time. When I go to a machine, I set it at, say, 100 pounds. I do 10 reps. That equals 1,000 pounds moved. So over the course of 30 minutes, it's a 30-minute workout that I do, I move 56,000 pounds. Now, can you imagine me going and trying to move 56,000 pounds at one time? It's
impossible. It's not impossible, but it's very hard.
But what do we focus on? The big things grab our attention. The big things, the pandemic. What can I do about it? What can you do about it? You can take care of yourself and your family.
Right. The only thing that you can do is you can work on yourself, that you can change.
Right. You have to do what you have to do for your family. But everybody's worried about everybody else. Oh, you're not vaccinated? You are a villain. Oh, you're vaccinated? You're a sheep. You're a fool. And everybody's just tossing barbs back and forth trying to make you change. Well, if I take care of myself in my backyard and you take care of yourself in your backyard, we're going to have a beautiful community.
Right. Change starts from within and with you.
Yep.
That's a conversation I actually, I have with my son from time to time. His comments is, you do you.
I know that.
Right.
Kids.
Right. And that's great because it's true. I mean, you can't help somebody unless you can help yourself.
Yep.
And that's where getting these little small changes, these little small baby steps, which is something, everyone was kind of, I think, taught as a young kid, is baby steps. It's important to just try to take it a little bit of a time. You can't eat an entire, I forget who made the comment, but you can't eat a cow in one sitting, but you can have, take little chunks out of it and you will slowly but surely whittle through. And, the change will happen, but you can't expect change to happen right away, because then you're really just, you're defeating yourself almost instantly.
Yeah. The elder Mr. Giles has checked in.
All right. Philosopher Heraclitus concluded that since the very nature of life has changed, to resist the natural flow is to resist the very essence of our existence. There is nothing permanent except change, which is absolutely true. Every day is change.
Yep.
But there are certain things that you can control during that change, or when things are changing. And that's how you react to things, right? Because you can't stop things from happening, but how you react to them is really important.
How many accidents have been caused by the person who got cut off? Somebody cuts you off in traffic and then you get angry about getting cut off in traffic and you do something stupid to try to retaliate. Next thing you know, there's an accident. In sports, one of the things I always teach my athletes is the second guy always gets caught. The first guy throws the punch when the referee's not looking. The second guy retaliates and the referee sees it and he gets the penalty or the foul. I really like what he said and what Lisa has added there as well. Take care of your wheelhouse. Don't focus on the world. If each takes care of their own wheelhouse, all is well. And
it starts with you.
We're right back to the same thing. It starts
inside you, here. Right. And that's how you facilitate growth and change. If you can't do that, once again, you're stuck you're stuck, you're not going to go, and then you get defeated, so you don't do it, right? And one of the things that for me resonates quite a bit is you know, when you get yourself into routines, it makes things a little bit easier, and you try to make, at least for me, I try to make as minimal amount of decisions every day. Right.
You try to set it up so decisions make themselves.
Right. Decisions. That's where your routine and your pattern comes in, because the least amount of decisions that you make, the less chance there is for, an issue, if you will. That's where your subconscious kind of comes into play, right?
Yeah.
Because your subconscious is going to, most people, they wake up, they might, get up, take a shower, have their coffee, get dressed. That's the routine that they get into. But if you don't do it in that way, it's actually going to send your day probably off on a different pattern and could be an issue. So a lot of the most successful people take more decisions out of their day, right, that are just make them automatic, to where your subconscious actually controls it. Like getting dressed. I mean, an example for, Facebook, which we're on, Mark Zuckerberg. You ever look at it? He wears the same shit every day. He takes those decisions out of his mind. Every day he doesn't have to think about
Steve Jobs, same thing.
Blue
jeans and a black turtleneck. Wherever he went.
Make the least amount of decisions every day as possible.
Shayna says, I might be channeling Pete, but why does everything come down to mind your own business?
Because that's what it really kind of is, right? Because if you're minding your own business and you're taking care of you, you're not worried about the other person, and you can work on you, not them.
So I'm going down the road, I'm minding my own business, and somebody gets in an accident, and I'm just going to keep minding my own business. I'm not going to dive in and help or do what needs to be done.
Well, you're not, I can't say you're minding your own business in that one. There's a lot of reasons, or a lot of decisions that people make. Like, for example, when you say that, and unfortunately in this world right now, it's, being a litigious society, you see someone in an accident, you stop, you try to help them, like maybe pull them out of the car, and you hurt them.
Wind up getting sued.
Now you wind up getting sued, right? So people unfortunately people are going to think about that and go, well, I don't want to help. I'm not going to go out of my pattern, and be nice. I'm just going to move on. Someone else will help them.
Yeah, they got a cell phone. They can call for help.
They assume.
But isn't that kind of that's a larger situation? But what about on the smaller? My child is not doing his homework. Should I mind my own business and just let him get an F, or do I need to step in and take care of something? And that goes back to the show last week of, am I responsible? Does that kid deserve my help?
Right.
But there's only I don't think we're capable of minding our own business.
No, not at the human person is not capable of minding their own business.
But we need to take care of ourselves, and we need to, I like what Lisa said here, choose to respond, think it out, not react, emotional. So assess the situation and make a decision based on the information you have. Now, sometimes that's got to be very quick. A car is on fire. I have to make a decision, right? Nobody's hurt or injured. I need to just, make a quick call to 911 before I do something. So, I mean, well said by Lisa. We got a lot of interaction going on this morning, guys. I appreciate it.
Please change. Deke. That's funny. Deke says, please change the direction of the love fest. If change happens, how come you two are doing the same thing you were doing 3 years ago? How do you know I'm doing the same thing I was doing 3 years ago?
I wasn't on this show with you 3 years ago.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. That's true. But
why are you doing the same thing you're doing 3 years ago, Mr. Jones? Go ahead and answer that for us. In the meantime, Lisa says, if your integrity and belief says I should help you, then you are minding your business. So other people are our business, and if we're taking care of other people, then we are minding our business.
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to, Lisa said, integrity. When it comes down to, integrity, if you're going to stop and help somebody, that's a personal choice for somebody, right? If they're going to do that, it doesn't have anything to do with change or growth or anything like that. But it's a personal choice whether you want to put yourself in that situation, and that's different for everybody else. But I would hope that people could change and actually at least have some compassion towards everyone else out there in the world and do what they can to help them after they've helped themselves. And I don't mean that to sound selfish, because it does come across as selfish, but once again, can't help yourself if you don't help somebody else.
Well, the old parable, if I give a man a fish he eats today, if I teach him to fish, he eats for a lifetime. And I think that's kind of where you're going down that line. Yeah, I'm here to help you, but I'm not going to be here to help you every day, right? You've got to learn, and here, allow me to help you through that. And Lisa says your child's upbringing is your business.
Oh, that's 100%. Well, no, I mean, it is your business, because if you're not teaching your kid, where to go and how to do it, and, how to think for themselves, then, that kid's not going to be a good, productive person to society, and they're not going to be able to grow. And that's what we're talking about today, is growth and change. The bottom line is things change all around you. You don't, unless it's a life-threatening situation. I'll disagree with that one to a certain point. I mean, it doesn't have to be, at least for me, it doesn't have to be life-threatening, but it has to be something that I would be unhappy with, or something that, I realize is an actual, maybe a detriment to my journey in life. And a lot of people don't really, get that. I mean, it doesn't have to be catastrophic, but it has to be something that means something to you. And if it means something to you, then it's worth working on and worth changing. And how you accomplish that is different for people. And that's why there are mentors out there. That's why there are, therapists and people like that to help you pattern interrupt what you're doing and say, hey, this ain't working anymore. Let's do it. It doesn't have to be catastrophic. I hope it's not catastrophic, because catastrophic, then you absolutely have no choice. It's something that, or you have no control over.
Right, but that's a lot of times change is driven by, but you're right, change is happening all around us all the time.
Yeah.
Well, let's go back to
Bear.
The Bear facts on gun. Derek says, but look at right now that the child that just shot up the school. People should have stepped in and could have saved lives. That child's upbringing was not good. And I mean, and there's no.
Well, you don't know what his upbringing. I don't know. I haven't read about that story.
Regardless if it's that kid or not, and yes, there was some struggles. I mean, his parents were called into the school that morning and given the choice to take him home or leave him at school, and they said basically keep the kid at school. We don't want to deal with this. But I think what we can't argue is there was a lot of kids who are going through a very terrible upbringing. And when you're a child and you're learning, and this is all handle your problems with violence, then that's, it's going to be a cloudy world.
Yeah. I mean, I like I said, I don't know. I haven't read about that situation yet, but it's one of those things that is unfortunate. You don't know all the situation, just like everybody else. You don't know what the situation, what his upbringing is, anything like that. But that there was some type of pattern, that was
probably
in that kid's life that caused him to get to that point, and they weren't able to change it. Why? I don't know, but that's something we all need to look at and, try to figure out, maybe what happened and not go down that road.
They study the brains of serial killers to try to figure out, is there something different in their brain than other brains? They study these kids as psychologists go into prisons all the time to try to figure out, is there something that could have been changed, something that could have been done differently?
Yeah. Lisa here says that by doing self-care and self-respect and level integrity, you are helping others. It's not selfish. You may be offering the greatest gift to many, the example of hope and possibility. I agree with that one. I mean, and that goes back to, the self-care thing, taking care of yourself, figuring out who you are, how your journey, how you want your journey to happen, and how you want to change, and what growth you want to get through your journey. And if you're not taking care of yourself, you can't take care of others. And that's really important.
And something else we need to take care of right now is who's sponsoring this show.
Yeah. What? Well, today's brought to you by Reese's Barkery and Pautique over at 1313 Riverside Drive in McHenry, where we our pet supply store, everything from food, collars, leashes, and all the frou-frou stuff, toys, you name it, we've got it over there. We're really into helping out your pets to live the best possible life that they can, have, because they don't have a choice, right? Their growth is dependent on you. Their change is dependent on you by teaching them, just like kids. You have to teach them. So over at 1313 North Riverside Drive in McHenry, Reese's Barkery and Pautique, stop on in, mention the show, and we'll give you a 10% discount on your purchases today.
Was there any concern of purchasing a building at the address 1313?
No, never
No?
even thought about
You're
it.
not an unlucky numbers guy?
Actually, 13 is my wife's lucky number, favorite
Perfect.
number.
I was
And
just
I
just as
didn't
you said-
even think about that one. Now you say that, it never even really resonated with me.
Yeah, well,
So
now if you
now,
go-
now you got me all the juju going. I'm gonna have to end the show now and go out and change that address to the different number.
Parents are charged and the school is being sued also. So going back to your, discussion on litigation and trying to get to the root problem, in this case with the parenting, the legal world has decided that these parents do hold some culpability to the acts of the
How
child.
old is the kid?
Was he 14, 15? I didn't follow it that closely.
Okay.
Derek, do you remember how old he was?
Yeah. Shana says, are school shooters typically from bad parenting or something else happening? I read pharmaceuticals were a commonality with several. I wonder what has changed because of the shooting. That's a good question. And like I said, this one is not one that I have delved into. I really haven't heard any information on that. Obviously, there's a pattern probably in that kid's life, right? Or, that has caused that to happen. What it's the parents, whether it's the school, we don't know. Could it be pharmaceuticals? Obviously, we know that, pharmaceuticals can actually, they change your brain up pretty quickly, not even realizing it. And so that's something to be really cautious and careful about, is when you're going to do something, deciding to, give your kids, pharmaceutical medication to help with different issues, instead of, maybe that could have sufficed with, mentoring or therapy.
Bare Facts on Guns checks in and says, I think 14 or 15. That's what I thought I remembered too.
It's sad no matter what, to be honest with you. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't matter. For me, it's just sad. And it's one of those things that needs to change. There's too much of that happening today in this world. And why is that happening? People, that's not growth. That's backpedaling.
Yeah. And Shana says, we look for a bad guy and a reason so our brains can cope with the chaos. We look for somebody to blame all the time. And it goes,
do we?
Well, I think I somewhat agree with her that it's kind of a not natural process. It can't be our fault. I'm too good to let something like this happen. It's got to be somebody else. So they must be at fault. They must be at fault. Somebody has to be
finger
at fault.
Pointers.
Exactly. Well, I think that's what she's saying is, so our brains can cope with the chaos. That as long as we can point to a ground zero, a purpose behind the problem, then maybe there's a fix to it instead of just being chaos. Let's see what's coming on next year. It's really sad. Parents basically abandoned him and hired a great lawyer, and they gave him a public defender.
Well, that's just shitty all the way around, and that's
love right there, isn't it?
Well, that's taking care of yourself.
Yeah, or for a 15-year-old kid.
Right. So. And they're the ones that most likely are the product of, that happen. Obviously, like I said, I don't know much on that whole situation, but there's underlying factors there, and I'm sure they'll get to it. But it's just sad. I don't even, I try not to even, and this is bad, but I try not to even think about stuff like that because I have no control over it. And that's where the stuff that I worry about is the stuff that I can control and the stuff that I can change. I can't change that. I know that I can change me, and then I can teach and teach and help my kids and help people in my inner circle to have growth, to have an actual not gift to society, but actually be a productive citizen and, do the things that need to be done to help us become a better world and to change and to grow from those lessons. Hopefully this tragedy people will learn from, and they'll be able to grow saying, I saw that and this is what happened, and that I don't want that to happen for my kids, my family, my friends' kids. How can I help people?
When was the first school shooting that you remember?
Columbine.
Columbine?
Yeah.
That's the one that sticks out for me as well, because my nephews went to school in Lakewood, Colorado, and when it first happened, they didn't say Columbine, they said high school in Lakewood, Colorado. And so we were back here freaking out over that. As it turned out, he went to Lakewood Public Schools, which is about 2 miles from Columbine. But we've had the opportunity now, when something happens someplace else, a shooting at school, bullying, whatever it is, and it makes the news, then all of a sudden everybody starts putting in policies and procedures to try to prevent it from happening in their school, in their house.
It's reactive instead of proactive.
What proactively could be done to stop school shootings?
It's not. I don't. That's a huge question that can't be answered, because they've tried so many different things. That would come down to something that has to change, something that the system has to change, and how do you facilitate that? Yeah. Some schools, they have metal detectors when they. That's crazy. So the problem starts really at home, in my mind. So I don't know how we got on guns and shooting and all this stuff. It's bringing my Friday down, but it changed, right?
Mr. Jones checked in.
Mr. Jones checked in. Yeah,
stop the love fest.
It's not. Yeah, we don't want. Yeah, no love fest, no love fest. But it starts at home, and it's a small, slight edge, that to start changing little things every day to teaching people.
Mr. Jones, Kent Jones, the co-founder of 216 The Net.
People don't change; only their circumstances do. Can you change a tiger's stripes? Nope. To simply react to the circumstances you are in. We don't have much. When something happens like that, you have to react to it, but we know it's an issue, being like the schools. How do you change it? Well, being proactive. What do you do? I don't know. I really don't know, because it does start at home.
And they clearly haven't found the answer to it yet either, because, the criminal mind can be very
deceiving.
Deceitful. Very creative. Now, they will eventually always make a mistake and get caught, but if they want to figure out a way to get guns in the school, they're going to figure out a way to get guns in the school. They've got these 3D printers now, and these kids have been able to 3D print guns made out of carbon with the printers inside the schools. It's crazy. Shayna says, we get in trouble judging a situation even when we think we have all the facts. We don't know what we don't know.
We don't. And that's why I say I really don't know what's going on there. It's sad and it's tragic, and it bugs me. But how can we grow from this? Right? Is there what can we take away from this? How can we as people and as a society grow and change from this whole
how many
nightmare?
How many more flowers and balloons have to be placed in front of schools or along the side of the road before we do grow that? Well, Beth Myers, good morning. There are so many things that could be a reason for it. It could be mental illness, abuse, isolation issues with making friends, too much time on cell phones and computers that they don't know how to deal with real life, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Probably every one of those.
Each person is a unique individual, and it could be a combination of those that lead into something. I did a paper in college. Now, if I did a paper in college, that was a while ago. But it was on the electronic games that just come out. I don't know.
By Coleco, probably back then, right?
Do you remember when Pong first came out?
Absolutely. I'm a Pong champion. Yeah, the old Atari.
And we sat there for hours twisting these little things to make this little electron ball bounce back and forth across the screen. And then Atari started and a few others started coming out. And this paper was titled, "We Only Lose at a Higher Level," because you can never beat a video game. You can only lose at a higher level. But the things they do to our bodies and their brain and the adrenaline and everything else that's issued into us, that if we were in a real fight would be beneficial. But when we're shut down, locked down, our body's not actually burning off the energy, but yet we're releasing all these endorphins and hormones into our body. Bad things happen. This was in probably the late 70s. I wrote the early 80s. I wrote that paper. And I'm looking today going, well, I wish I could pull that thing out. It's almost philosophical.
Well, you could pull it out at any point.
Shana says we can quit pretending that if people want help for mental health issues, it's easily available. And it goes back to what we said earlier. You don't know you have mental health issues until something happens. A schizophrenic doesn't know he's schizophrenic. He does a lot of dumb things, and until he gets in a situation, there are people who have mental health issues that will never be taken care of because they think it's normal. I mean, they're living their normal.
Well, that's where it's outside, where you're looking for outside help, people to actually step in and say that's not right. And that could be part of a change or a growth, because it takes a lot for somebody to want to step in and say, hey, that's not right, and to help that person to change. And a lot of people these days don't want to do that because they're minding their own business too much, right? So I mean, at what point do you say I need to step in and help facilitate that person in getting help? And a lot of people don't want to do that anymore. They don't want that drama. Yeah. They just figure, you know what, not my problem, not my life, not my problem. And that's that's one of the issues that we've got going on in the world right now, is it's not my problem.
Not my problem, man.
Not my problem, not my life.
Who's this Sally Giles?
I don't know. She's laughing at me. I don't know.
She spends her life laughing at you, doesn't she?
Maybe. Probably. She taught me. She did a great job at that too. I am who I am today because of my parents.
Or she's just like, oh.
She's down in Florida enjoying herself right now. You enjoy that sunshine, Ma. So
now, Derek checks in and says, do you think technologies have hurt or helped kids? I mean, that's
Both.
An 8-hour show. That's a streamathon.
Right.
My 15-year-old grandson, I'll pick him up from sports practice to just give him a 15-minute ride home. So I have 15 minutes with him in the car. And the first thing he does is jump on and start Snapchatting or TikToking or
that's all they know.
Whatever. And it's like, dude, put it away.
Yeah.
So I think it's hurt kids. I think it's hurt their ability to communicate.
Yeah.
I'm working on James to launch a new podcast with me called Ask the Teenager Before They Find Out They Don't Know Everything. And I've almost got him talked into it.
Yeah.
Because he pretty much.
Well, it's, we do need, I mean, a lot of these kids, they don't have an outlet. They're not taking advantage of the outlets to grow, because that would be a change for them. That would be growth for them to actually talk about what they're doing, and they don't talk about it. They just stare at their phones.
This is a kid who, as a sophomore, was the MVP of the soccer team, kicked field goals for the football team, and trained with the cross country team in the same season. It's not like he doesn't have the physical outlets to do things, but he still gets trapped into that device.
But it comes down to also not just physical, it comes down to mental, and that's the most important thing. And that's I can almost guarantee what's happening with this unfortunate shooting.
Now, most people run from conflict and don't know how to help and only really care about themselves. This is a guy who has a show called The Bare Facts on Guns.
Well, but he is right in a lot of ways there, because it's, it's not my place, not my problem. And if a lot of people will feel, I can't change that, I can't help them change, I can't do anything about it, so why stick my 2 cents in? And there are a lot of situations where Derek's right. I mean, you mind your own business to a certain point, but there's also other ones where you have to step in, and that's part of being human and part of being, a compassionate person. Hey, this person's going down the wrong road and no one's stepping in. I need to step in, and that's conflict is unavoidable. How you deal with conflict is really important, and who you're dealing with and how you deal with it is important.
I think your mom thinks she was the Pong champion.
She might have been. I don't remember actually if Mom ever played with us, but so Shayna says, I remember an airport shooting by a soldier that claimed no memory of it. Manchurian candidate, maybe. With the tech we have now, the brain can be manipulated by frequency. Oh, 100%. 100%. And then Beth comes on to say, no one is helping those in need is exactly the problem. I have seen people collapse with medical issues or being beat up, and people walk by and do nothing. I think it's very much a societal issue. We need to step in and help with others. Absolutely. I mean, you have to make that decision, and that actually comes back to part of our, our word today is growth. I mean, that has to do with growth. I mean, and compassion. I mean, when you have something like that, you have to look beyond just yourself and say, you know what, I owe it to society, and I guess not owe it to society, but that's one of the things that you need to really take a look at and go, I can't walk by that. I need to stop and help that, because that's wrong. That person's being, let's just, if it's a person being abused, and we have to stop that. That's part of growth. And that takes a lot of chutzpah. It takes a lot of balls to do something like that, because you do open yourself up to issues. Conflict is going to happen no matter what. How you deal with that conflict, and, is of the utmost importance. If you just keep walking by that stuff, most of those people, the people that actually probably walk by that conflict or that person getting beat up, are the ones that are bitching and complaining about things not getting done.
How many people are on the planet?
Like 7 billion.
7 billion.
Yeah.
And I've heard it say that each person is a unique individual. How can we come up with something that's going to identify those people who have those issues, who could act on those issues and create? I mean, it's practically impossible. I overheard somebody talking the other day, and I thought they were talking about me, and I thought that can't be real. So I did a test when I got home last night. When I went in, I stepped on the bathroom scale, and then I did my business, and then I stepped on the scale again. What I found out is I'm not really full of crap. All right, I'm only about like a little less than 1% crap. But the world, I think, is full of people who think they know the answer, but nobody really has the answer. I mean,
they have idea. They have idea. Well, some people do have the answers.
They've got some good ideas.
But right, and that's where talking to other people can help you, because you can facilitate that growth and to come up with the answers, and maybe come up with a game plan. I mean, it's not as easy as it sounds. No. Once again, goes back to small steps. Little tiny differences every day. I mean, if you stop today to help somebody that was in a car accident, you're a good person. You're trying to make that step to be a good person and help out other people.
Yeah.
And some of that comes down to selfishness too.
Shane asks, is anyone reading Kennedy's new book on Fauci? Interesting. I'm not. I was not aware there was a book. Which Kennedy is writing it? That would be a question in my mind. It's.
I have no idea on that one.
And then she goes on to say, doing nothing beats
filming it, I guess.
Yes.
Oh, geez.
Pharmaceuticals can be a literal lifesaver for certain conditions. The problem I see in my work is it's a quick fix, go to which
seems to be the normal now, rather than change or work for the long haul. Right. So it's a temporary. Right. And that's where we're talking about the small differences, making a change, doing things slightly. Everyone in this world today is looking for, that quick, easy fix. And there is no, and going back to our word today, and growth doesn't happen instantly. It's a process. It takes time. It's not something that you can change overnight. You have to work with it. And will medication help in some instances? Absolutely, because it will give you the slight advantage, if you will, or that little bit of help needed to get to that next level, along with mentoring and counseling.
Coach found the 216 T-shirt of the day. This can't be real.
Yeah. And Bob says there are myriads of reasons why there is so much hatred in the world today. Unfortunately, we are afraid of one another and seem to no longer trust one another. Our trust has been betrayed by the actions and words of those those we look upon to lead us. Amen. I can't even go too far down that road, and that's where it starts with you, And my immortal words that I put out there: question everything. Why are you doing this? Why is it right? Is it good for you? Is it going to help people? It's just,
well, to me, trust is a cultural issue. If you're raised on the south side of Chicago, you
trust nobody.
If you're raised like I was in western Nebraska, we're going to trust you until you
trust the corn.
Wrong. Yeah, well,
from the children of the corn, right?
That was originally the mental emotional pharmaceuticals were meant to help during the counseling and change, not as a rather than.
Right. Well, now it's actually people are just taking, expect everything to change.
They started on it. Once they start taking it, they're pretty much hooked on them for life. If they want to keep that. I have, through my work in study in gratitude and other issues, I have been able to help people normalize their life, or for what is normal. I mean, to me, it's a town
I was gonna
close
say I
to
don't
Bloomington.
use that word anymore. It's typical.
Yeah, typical. Common sense is there.
There is no common sense
So we
anymore.
should call it uncommon sense when people actually do the right thing.
Right.
But there's a guy it was a psychologist was talking about the body's ability to heal and the brain's ability to heal. And I know that gets into neuroplasticity and a lot of this higher level, higher functioning stuff. But again, it takes work. And going back to, I think Shayna said it earlier, no one's willing. We want instant gratification. We want to take a pill and we want it to be gone.
Well, that's our world today, is we do want instant gratification. And I mean, it can't happen. And people have to realize that growth is a process.
Well,
and you can't rely on just one thing to grow and to change. You have to integrate a bunch of different processes, if you will, right? If you need medication to help you work and to grow and to change, that's fine, but you can't make it something you rely on unless you do have a medical issue that can't, be changed. But from a mental standpoint, there's a lot of times it can be changed through counseling and through therapy. And medication might be one of those, but unfortunately, medication these days is just way too far overused. You'll go to a doctor. I mean, first thing you say, "Oh, I just don't want to get up." All right, take this pill and go. And
I had a boy who qualified for the state track meet, and so he was coming with me, myself, and Coach Setzler took 2 athletes to the state track meet. His mom met me in the parking lot, and she said, "Now, he needs to have this pill when he wakes up. He needs to have one of these at 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and 6 o'clock. And then he needs to have this one at 8 o'clock to help him wind down from what the ones at 10, 2, and 6 did for him." Right. Now, here I am, a coach, and all of a sudden I'm responsible for dispensing medication to this athlete. And it was at an era where I didn't know if I was responsible for this or not, but I wanted to take. Now, the kid did win his heat. He was an incredible athlete. But he was, from the.
But are you helping him or are you hurting him? That's not to me. That's hurt. I don't know the exact circumstances on that, but I mean,
that was the medication was his family's decision. I couldn't. Right. I couldn't alter from what they're.
I get that. But I mean, think about that. Now they're wanting you to become his dispensary and to give him these things, and is that right? Right. I mean, that's
what is right.
But I mean, is that something you want put on you? I mean, I wouldn't want that responsibility. I want to do what's right and make sure that the person's, being taken care of and getting what they need. But is that person going to be able to change? Is that person going to be able to make a difference? With our word, is that person going to be able to grow with all those medications? Is it stifling them? I don't know.
So
who knows? If you know, please call us here at 216 The Net, The Grounds with Giles and Jones, or this today, Giles and Stewart.
Absolutely. And, if you don't want Jones to come back, but no, I'm kidding you. Kent is taking care of some family issues.
Which is most important. Yeah.
It's absolutely family first always. We're in the final 2 minutes. How are you going to summarize this show?
I can't. we went from growth to shooting to holy shit.
Holy crap.
Right. So, I mean, I think, what we really started out with, being growth and change, and your word of the year, if you will, is it's up to you folks. It really is. Start with you. And Lisa made that comment earlier, right away on the show. It starts within the self-help, the self-care, looking at you, figuring out what works best for you. And then if you know what works best for you or have an idea of what works best for you, find somebody that can help you. Look for that mentor, look for that therapist maybe, or, trust somebody to share your thoughts with, because so many people these days don't have somebody that they feel comfortable with to share these feelings with, and don't understand that probably a lot of the thoughts they're having are typical. I almost said normal there, but are typical, because we have 40 to 60,000 thoughts a day that go through our head. Probably 95% of them are hogwash, but we don't know that. So just like I say every week, guys, go out there, love somebody, hug them, kiss them, let them know they're important, help people to become the people they want to be. But first, make sure you help yourself, because just like the whole airplane adage, right? Put your mask on first, people. Put your mask on first. Take care of yourself, and then share the love to everybody else and help them. That's what society is about. that's what America should be about. That's what the world should be about, is helping others to have the best life and to grow, to change, and to enjoy our journey, because nothing is guaranteed. People, we
Amen.
love you. We thank you for checking in with us today at 216 The Net's The Grounds.
You've been caught in the net.
Yeah, you've been caught in the net. Have a good week. We'll see y'all again next Friday, 7:30. We've got a bunch of different shows coming up this week, and Deke erased them off the board, so I can't tell you.
They're on that board back there, but it's
But tune in every day. We got all kinds of good shows for you guys here at 216 The Net. We appreciate it. Have a great week. Bye-bye, people.